Man, have Deshaun Foster and Eric Bieniemy found something. What a crazy way to end that game. The Bruins take down Nebraska 27-20.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Wow, oh wow. Welcome everybody to this edition of Locked On UCLA. Breaking news, reaction to the UCLA-Nebraska game in the car. As we're sitting here watching, listening, dying along with you guys. No, I was not driving. I was sitting in the car waiting for this game to end. So the Bruins win this 27-20, a stunning road victory, back-to-back road victories for the Bruins, who have been dogs in both those games against Rutgers and Nebraska. Man, the bet against UCLA rule works, man. And unless you're really a betting man and you saw that Nebraska was favored by 6.5 and you chose UCLA, technically the final score I chose, 21-17 Nebraska, was only off by the money line, not by the actual UCLA cover. And they did. In the end, what UCLA did when it came to keys in this game, all the important factors I pointed to UCLA winning this game, the Bruins pretty much hit this game overall, right? UCLA, the quarterback play, it was much better from Ethan Garbers compared to the two quarterbacks, whether it was Harburg, the backup who came in late for Dylan Raiola, and even Raiola prior to getting beat up on a run near the goal line. He did not play spectacularly well because the Bruins forced a pick six against him in this game, right? UCLA, they did their best. Garbers, 219 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. He completed 68% of his passes, and he had a 57-yard run, including 56 yards rushing for the Bruins, who out of nowhere found a way to run the football for almost 140 yards and close to 30 yards more than Nebraska. All right, and I thought if UCLA was able to put some points, able to move the football against Nebraska, then they figured things out. Well, yeah, I think the offense scored 20 of those points. The defense scored 7, but they needed to do what they needed to do. I also thought UCLA needed to play clean football, force a turnover, maybe 2. UCLA, for the first time with Ethan Garbers playing and starting, he did not turn over the ball. All right, there are times near the goal line where maybe in the Hawaii game where UCLA won week 1, he would have forced something. No, ran out of bounds. Deshaun Foster kicks the field goal. There's a chance at some point in the game when the Bruins are up, I think 10-7, Deshaun Foster, 4th and short, kicks the field goal. UCLA 4th and 1, deep in their own territory against Nebraska, where, even I think what Yogi Roth was talking about, UCLA should go for it initially, just like they didn't do it against Minnesota. But I think the Bruins did the right thing. You're deep in your own territory. The only time Nebraska scored was when UCLA committed freaking unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. And you can debate the validity of all those penalties, 1, 2, or 3, how that literally directly led to all of the scores for Nebraska, whether it was the second 3 now UCLA had against Nebraska, kickstarted Nebraska drive, kept open and kept alive the second scoring drive for Nebraska, or the last scoring drive, all because of penalties. So when it came to 4th and short, I was like, UCLA should under no circumstances go for this. They need to punt it away and force the opposition's backup quarterback, or at the time was an injured Raiola, to bring the team 81 yards down to score when the team literally did not do that a single time the entire game. Not once. Nebraska was aided on each touchdown drive by a 15-yard penalty that either extended it on 3rd and goal, extended a 3 and out. It was the Bruins kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And yes, I just go back and rewatch all those penalties, but even the last one was a bit questionable there. And, I'll have to go back and watch it, but, Deshaun Foster was as angry and as loud as we've seen him, right? There's a reason why these players love him and want to play for him. And yes, he might be quiet when it talks to the media. He might be quiet when it's the post-game, pre-game, halftime interview. Except when they're making the first pillar something that is disrespected when it comes to discipline, yeah, he's going to be mad when it's costing and nearly cost UCLA the game. But the Bruins, 3-5, 2 wins in Big Ten play. At this moment when I record, the Bruins have, done a lot of things in Big Ten. Man, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. There is still the outside chance of UCLA running away and going down the stretch and having an outside chance at a bowl. And now the Bruins got to go take care of business against the scrappy, similarly defensively sound Iowa team, probably a little bit worse on offense. But it's nothing UCLA has not faced with homecoming next, all the Bruins got to check off on Deshaun Foster's mark is simply getting a home win at the Rose Bowl, right? These Bruins, I've figured it out for now, right? When you play the murderous row of opponents, Indiana at home, who looks legit, at LSU, never a tough place to play. Home versus number 1 Oregon, on the road at top 3, soon to be top 5 Penn State, because they just lost Ohio State today. And other than blowing that game against Minnesota, who I think now is bowl eligible after their comeback win late against Illinois, who's a good Big Ten football team. The Bruins, man, I don't want to hate to say it, but yeah, Garbers is the right move to start as the starting quarterback, right? And then I'll eat my own crow. I picked UCLA to lose, but unfortunately for the rest of the season, the bet against UCLA rule works because you bet against them, they're going to come out and do things. But the one thing I will mention, Nebraska in one-score games, it's just some weird curse, right? Even though UCLA led this game by 20 points, they did what they needed to do. Nebraska came back, made a one-score game, and found a way to lose it late when Kalen Moore made a fantastic play, sticking with it after I believe Brian Anderson broke up the initial play. It stayed in his hands, and he made a diving catch for an interception to end that game. After I thought that Harburg had thrown open a guy for a game-tying touchdown, no, not just an incompletion, not just a great play up top, a great way to stick with it and make the play. And UCLA's last points came on the first play of the second half for a pick 6. All right, that was fantastic for the Bruins, who forced 2 picks, 1 on each quarterback, played turnover-free football. When it came to special teams, the Bruins were able to force them deep late, force Nebraska not to return the ball. Nebraska was the one that missed an extra point. The Bruins made their field goals. So, Mateen Magani did big things. I wonder what this game would have been like if we were able to see more of J. Michael Sturdivant, right? He had 2 catches for 19 yards, and then he got hit hard, right? He had some big time catches, just a couple early, which you think, all right, 2 catches, 19 yards. There are some tough third down opportunities, right? A couple of targets. Then you had Quadzi Gilmer, his first career UCLA touchdown, right? 3 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown, right? So it was just nuts how this game ended. UCLA, what did I say? They had to be able to win field position and convert. Well, they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. They scored, they converted. And when UCLA needed plays, it was the Superman Carson Schlesinger who blew up the Nebraska running back and got a sack on, I believe it was a 4th and goal, if I'm remembering correctly. But just, man, blew up a play and made a fantastic play. Although I think the play that it has to be Cam Adrano with the pick, leaping over a Nebraska player to run into the end zone for a score. UCLA is learning how to make plays defensively into scores and change the game, all right? What did I want for UCLA? I wanted pressure. The defense needed to handle the physicality of this game. 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. These Bruins who don't know how to handle the physicality of the Big Ten, apparently, according to everybody. Ikaika Malloy, with his linebacking crew, figuring out who to use in the D-line and probably running into a struggling true freshman quarterback, had a design perfected for a game that allowed UCLA to force pressure, get in the backfield because Nebraska wasn't going to break down everything for UCLA physically. Yes, they still ran for over 100 yards, but the Bruins were the more physical team. Of course, Ethan Garbers, our quarterback making juke moves, all right? I have to apologize to him because I said he's not mobile. Yes, he's athletic, he can make plays, but he has twice the last 2 games broken off for 45, 50-plus yard runs to lead UCLA to victory with spectacular moves each time, all right? He's making DTR jealous with some of these moves. I mean, maybe I digress on that point. But the Bruins, man, are they the worst team in college football, or are they just a team that when it gets to schedule where all their tough opponents were in a row, and then they blew that game against Minnesota, or if you think about it, UCLA could be 4-4 right now if they had not blown and choked away that Minnesota game. How much of a different taste will we have thinking about that? I mean, we have to give Deshaun Foster and his team props. And Eric Bieniemy, yes, UCLA didn't do a lot in that second half, but terrible field position. They got to the 40. There are some calls I'm always going to bicker and complain about. What is Bieniemy doing, right? You wonder why Deshaun doesn't go for it on 4th and short. You see some of these run designs, you're like, I wouldn't trust UCLA to go for it 4th and short every time. However, UCLA, their first game where they surpassed the 100-yard rushing total and stayed with it. I think they passed it against Rutgers, but they lost a couple of yards, so they didn't get 100 yards for the game. This was the first game this season UCLA ran for 100 yards rushing against a physical. And this is not a terrible Nebraska defense, all right? This was a team where UCLA had to execute to win this game in the 21-20s, 27-20s, get a big lead, hold on late, survive the penalties, and then time of possession, pretty even. No turnovers. 4.6 yards per rush. Goodness gracious. What is this UCLA team we've been waiting to see? Yes, there are still things to be cleaned up. Penalties. Better execution in the run game. You get a first down, you end the game, right? I'm not saying he has to go for it, but get it on 3rd and 1. Don't leave it in doubt when Nebraska has no timeouts. Don't even give him a shot. Maybe get more opportunities, but it was nice to see UCLA again without one of their top receivers, Rico Flores Jr., without J. Michael Servat making big plays. Quasi Gilmer, when he needs to step up, makes a huge play every time, running corner routes, burning a defense that forgets he exists and running down the sideline for his first career collegiate touchdown. Oh boy. Homecoming, this game next week for UCLA is to determine if they can make it to a bowl. That is how important this game is for Iowa, against Iowa, next up for the Bruins. And for Nebraska, man, they can't seem to win a game to get to a bowl for the first time since 2016. Matt Rule, Nebraska, that whole program, they have a curse when it comes to one-score games. But UCLA and the Pat Mahomes doppelganger, the Harburg and Raiola, who tried his best to grit it out. He's a tough competitor, but the Bruins fooled him. They were physical, faster, fresher, everything you needed to do to win this football game. The Bruins looked like it coming off a bye, which is how a team's supposed to do coming off a bye. Goodness gracious, what a game plan. I'm extremely proud. Man, that was a top to bottom great team victory for this UCLA team here in 2024, their third win of the season. All right, well, if you're wondering, hey, did the Bruins hit it? Well, they covered yet again. All right, UCLA plus 6.5, I think, closing into the week on FanDuel. When I read it the day before the game, the Bruins not only covered, they won the game. Second straight week as a road dog, the Bruins cover and win the game. I wonder what that line's going to be like against Iowa. But what you got to do is go to FanDuel.com if you're a new customer. If you win your first $5 bet, and if you took my score prediction seriously, UCLA actually covered. And they won the game, which is important. So go to FanDuel.com. If you place your first $5 bet and win, you get $150 in bonus bets. Check out FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel.com. Make every moment more, and go to FanDuel. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap up this reaction episode of Locked On UCLA. I'm holding my phone to record this episode. So, 8 clap, baby, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. I couldn't do the 8 clap because I'm holding my phone. There's nothing I can hold in my car. But if you do it at home, do that 8 clap loud and proud. With basketball season on the horizon, we can't just be like, hey, let's put these Bruins to the side. Monday's going to be fun with 2 games, men's and women's, big-time games, just to see them in action for the first time. But the football team says, hey, keep us in the forefront. We're battling for a bowl, and that could completely change the trajectory of this UCLA program if Deshaun Foster gets to a bowl, right? That completely changes recruiting in the portal. If they can steal somebody and flip a commitment late, that is important. If Deshaun Foster, after all they went through, gets to a bowl, that could change how UCLA football's future looks for now. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.